Chapter 158. Everyone is angry. Shendu and Leng Yu were closest to Yili. They were extremely afraid of such a terrifying demonic aura. Lu Qingxue colluded with a dark race member. It was Cloud Peak Academy's decision to take her back. In extreme fear, Shendu wanted to use the Cloud Peak Academy to scare Yili away. Unfortunately, Yili never knew what fear was. That's right. Besides, since you are a member of the dark race, and are now in the Huangjiang base city, the Huangjiang base city will definitely not sit idle, Leng Yu said. The families of the Huangjiang Academy all looked at Su Changfeng, wanting to see Elder Su's attitude. If Elder Su gave an order, no matter how powerful Yili was, he wouldn't be able to escape from Huangjiang base city. However, they discovered that Elder Su was closing his eyes and seemed to be sleeping. The big clans in the Huangjiang base city could only look at each other in bewilderment. Yili looked at Shendu and Leng Yu and slowly said, "Then show me your strength. Let me see if you're qualified to take Lu Qingxue away." Lu Qingxue was already crying like rain. She had never been so touched since she was born. Shendu and Leng Yu didn't dare to attack. The speed Yili showed just now, and the aura he exuded were too terrifying. They knew that they were definitely no match for Yili. "Why? Are you afraid?" A cold light flashed in Yili's eyes. "Behind our Cloud Peak Academy is the Warrior Alliance. Have you really thought it through?" Shendu said in a trembling voice. Yili sighed. He really didn't understand why it was so difficult to make people understand a little bit of truth. "Since you don't dare to attack me, disappear from my sight. Otherwise, you know the consequences," Yili slowly said. But Shendu didn't want to leave like that. Perhaps he felt that since Yili was a member of the dark race and was in the Huangjiang base city, Yili definitely wouldn't dare to attack him. So he mustered his courage and shouted at Yili, "We are now in the human base city. When is it your turn, a member of the dark race, to behave atrociously in a human base city?" As soon as he said this, the thousands of students in the Huangjiang Academy were all in an uproar. Yes, when did a member of the dark race have the right to cause trouble in a human base city? Kill this member of the dark race. Kill him. Where are the strong masters of our Huangjiang base city? What's wrong with you? Now that a dark race member has come to our Huangjiang base city, why don't you take action? All the students shouted at Yili. "Dad, look," Su Yao said to Elder Su. But Elder Su pretended not to hear him and continued to close his eyes. Seeing this, Su Yao was a little helpless. He gave the big clans a look to calm down. When Shendu and Leng Yu heard the students shouting, they immediately looked smug and shouted at Yili, "Dark race member, now you know that human base cities are not to be trifled with, right?" Although the Huangjiang base city was only a small base city, this dark race member had come in as if there was no one around. How could these students of the Huangjiang Academy stand it? "Since you said that I'm a member of the dark race, then I, Yili, am a member of the dark race, because the words of an ant are not important at all," Yili said slowly. As soon as he finished speaking, not only the students of the Huangjiang Academy, but also the big clans in the Huangjiang base city were all angry. Chapter 159. Isn't it good to be alive? Who is this dark race member? How can he be so arrogant? Doesn't this member of the dark race know that this is the Huangjiang base city? I'm so angry. Dark race, you will never be able to imagine the horror of our Huangjiang base city. How dare a mere member of the dark race brag? Thousands of students from the Huangjiang Academy clamored at Yili and roared. The martial families in the Huangjiang base city were also furious. They stared at Yili. How dare Yili say such a thing in the Huangjiang Academy? How could they tolerate it? The words of ants were not important? Did he mean that they were ants? Although they didn't know what he exactly meant, they could tell the arrogance in his words. Seeing the students of Huangjiang Academy shouting again, Shendu and Leng Yu looked even more smug. "Dark race member, what are you going to do now?" Shendu looked at Yili smugly. Su Suner and Lu Qian looked at Yili at a loss. They naturally knew that Yili was not a member of the dark race. In Pan City, the humanoid mantis monster said that Yili didn't have the aura of the dark race on him. But who would believe their words now? Lu King's eyes were full of tears. Under the sun, A determined look appeared on her face as she walked towards the stage. Seeing Lu Qingxue walking to the stage, everyone in the Huangjiang Academy stopped talking, wanting to see why Lu Qingxue was going to the stage. Two recruiters, I'll go back to Cloud Peak Academy with you. Lu Qingxue looked at Shen Du and Leng Yu firmly. Lu Qingxue didn't want Yi Li to become the target of public criticism for her. In the Black Cloud Forest, if it weren't for Yi Li, she would have died long ago. Now that Yi Li had caused public anger to save her, she definitely didn't want to see such a situation happen. Lu Qingxue, your choice is very wise. No one can change the decision made by the Cloud Peak Academy. Shen Du sneered. Dark Race member, your choice is very wise. After we take Lu Qingxue away, prepare to bear all the anger of the Huangjiang base city. Shen Du smiled coldly at Yi Li. Yi Li looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. The dazzling sunlight was not dazzling in his eyes at all. Isn't it good to be alive? Yi Li slowly said. As soon as he said this, Shen Du and Leng Yu trembled and looked at Yi Li in shock. As soon as Yi Li said so, he suddenly looked at Shen Du and Leng Yu, and two extremely terrifying golden spiritual lights shot out of his deep eyes. There was no need to mention the power of the heavenly spirit eyes. The golden spiritual light was as fast as lightning. Shen Du and Leng Yu were both only Tier 4 evolved beings. How could they react in time? At the last moment of their lives, Shen Du and Leng Yu widened their eyes. Before they could even shout, a golden spiritual light pierced through their hearts. In an instant, blood splashed everywhere. Seeing this, everyone was dumbstruck. The two recruiters were killed so easily. Especially Leng Yu. She was already a Tier 4 evolved being, and a recruiter of the Cloud Peak Academy. Her future was supposed to be bright, but unfortunately, she provoked someone she shouldn't have. It was a pity that such a beautiful woman was killed. When everyone in Huangjiang Academy saw this scene, they were all scared out of their wits. Chapter 160. The truth: the Dark Race member killed two recruiters of Cloud Peak Academy with his eyes? It seems that two golden lights shot out of the eyes of the Dark Race member, and then the bodies of the two recruiters were pierced through. This member of the Dark Race is too bold. He actually dares to kill two recruiters of the Cloud Peak Academy in Huangjiang Base City. These students didn't understand. They only knew that Yi Li killed Shen Du and Leng Yu. But the big clans in the Huangjiang Base City had seen it clearly. Golden spiritual light? According to the spiritual energy color, corresponding to the level of genetic talent, the golden color was. Thinking of this, the big families in the Huangjiang Base City were all shocked. An SSS-level genetic warrior? Since the establishment of the Huangjiang Base City, the highest level genetic talent was only S-class gene. The SSS-level genetic talent only existed in legends. Some people even believed that there was no SSS-level genetic talent in this world. But today, the golden spiritual light in Yi Li's eyes told them that there was really an SSS-level class genetic talent in this world. It wasn't until now that the big families in the Yellow River Academy finally understood why Elder Su wasn't in a hurry at all. The Dark Race didn't have any genetic talent. Now that Yi Li's genetic talent was SSS grade, it meant that Yi Li wasn't from the Dark Race at all. Dad, what should we do now? Su Yao was a little panicked. Although the golden spiritual light that Yi Li showed was enough to prove that Yi Li was not a member of the Dark Race, he had killed two recruiters of the Cloud Peak Academy after all. If the Cloud Peak Academy was furious, their Huangjiang Base City would definitely not be able to resist it. Su Changfeng opened his eyes and sneered. What can we do? Well, just deal with whatever comes our way. His life was saved by Yi Li. He only knew that Yi Li was his savior. As for other things, he didn't care at all. Then, Elder Su motioned to the president of the Huangjiang Base City. The president immediately understood what Elder Su meant, and quickly walked up the stage. Mr. Yi is not a member of the Dark Race. The Dark Race doesn't have any genetic talent, and Mr. Yes' genetic talent is SSS grade. What? The thousands of students in the Huangjiang Academy were all dumbfounded when they heard this. An SSS-level genetic warrior? What is an SSS-level genetic warrior? A confused student asked. I don't know either. One only know that the highest genetic talent is S grade. Another student touched his head and said. The other students looked at the two students as if they were fools. The SSS class genetic talent is the strongest genetic talent on the continent. You're really ignorant. The S-class genetic talent is nothing compared to the SSS class genetic talent. The thousands of students in the Huangjiang Academy all looked at each other in bewilderment. They had thought that Yili was a member of the dark race and was clamoring crazily just now. But it turned out that he was an SSS-level genetic warrior. Why did they feel that their faces were burning? Senior, you killed 2 recruiters of the Cloud Peak Academy. Before Lu Qingxue could finish speaking, Yili interrupted her. It doesn't matter. They deserved it. Yili said slowly. Suddenly, Lu Qingxue looked at the students below the stage. She told everyone what happened in the Black Cloud Forest. Everyone in the Huangjiang Academy was stunned. Chapter 161. Mr. Yes' words really woke me up. No one in the Huangjiang Academy expected that the truth was like this. The head of the Lu family, Lu Xinghe, looked at the beautiful figure on the stage, as if 1,000 knives and swords had stabbed his heart. As King's father, he didn't choose to believe his daughter from the beginning. The people from the Lu family were the same. They wished they could find a hole to hide in. The farce is over. Go call Mr. Yi. We should go back, Elder Su said slowly. Su Yao nodded and walked to the stage. Mr. Yi, my father is going back home. Can you? Su Yao looked at Yili tentatively. Let's go, Yili said leisurely. At this moment, Yili's handsome face still didn't change at all, as if nothing had happened. Yili slowly walked down the platform, leaving the people from the Huangjiang Academy stunned on the spot. In the Su family's hall, Yili slowly picked up a white jade cup, which was filled with the best tea leaves in the Huangjiang Bay City. After taking a sip, Yili put down the white jade cup, his handsome face calm. At this moment in the Su family's hall, there were all important figures of the Su family, the Lu family and the Wu family. The Su family, the Lu family, and the Wu family were the 3 biggest families in Huangjiang Bay City. Su Changfeng, the head of the Su family, was a Tier 7 evolved being. Lu Xinghe, the head of the Lu family, was a Tier 6 evolved being, and Wu Zifu, the head of the Wu family, was a Tier 6 evolved being. Dad, Mr. Yi killed 2 recruiters of Cloud Peak Academy, Suner and Xiaoqian. Although Su Yao didn't finish speaking, his meaning was very clear. In other words, should Suner and Xiaoqian still go to the Cloud Peak Academy? Elder Su waved his hand. The Cloud Peak Academy is one of the 3 academies established by the Warrior Alliance. During the test, Suner and Xiaoqian's information had been transmitted into the new student database of the Cloud Peak Academy. But Elder Su, the 2 recruiters of the Cloud Peak Academy died in Huangjiang Bay City after all. We don't know the background of the 2 recruiters. One thinks Suner and Xiaoqian shouldn't go to the Cloud Peak Academy. Lu Xinghe looked at Elder Su and said. Elder Su was silent for a few seconds. Just as he was about to nod, a carefree voice entered everyone's ears. Their deaths have nothing to do with your Huangjiang Bay City. Yili slowly said. But Mr. Yi, the 2 recruiters died in Huangjiang Bay City after all. Su Yao looked at Yili awkwardly. Yili smiled casually. Did you see them die in the Huangjiang Bay City with your own eyes? Su Yao was stunned. He didn't understand what Yili meant. So many people in the Huangjiang Academy had seen it. Elder Su smiled and looked at Yili. Mr. Yes' words really woke me up. Dad, what do you mean? Su Yao was confused. We just need to plant the death of the 2 recruiters of the Cloud Peak Academy on the members of the dark race in Pan City. After all, they are only Tier 4 evolved beings. The Cloud Peak Academy will have to believe us, Elder Su said slowly. Hearing Elder Su's words, everyone in the hall understood. Su Yao smiled. His father was indeed an old fox, but Mr. Yi was still the smartest. But what should we do about Qingxue? Lu Xinghe suddenly asked. Everyone in the Su family's hall fell silent. Lu King's matter was not easy to resolve. Chapter 162. Leaving Lu King's matter had already been known by the Cloud Peak Academy. Although Lu Qingxue didn't collude with the dark race, how could the Cloud Peak Academy believe her? Well, Wu Zifu, the head of the Wu family, shook his head. He didn't know how to solve such a matter. The corners of Yi Li's mouth curled up slightly, and a faint smile appeared on his handsome face. The faint smile on Yi Li's face was captured by Elder Su. Elder Su looked at Yi Li and said, "Mr. Yi, do you already have a solution?" "Not really. If you trust me, leave Qingxue to me. I'll take her to a safe place," Yi Li said slowly. Hearing this, Lu Xinghe pondered for a few seconds and then said to Yi Li, "Mr. Yi, one believe you." For now this was the only solution. If Lu Qingxue kept staying in the Huangjiang base city, Cloud Peak Academy would definitely come for her. Lu Qingxue, Su Sinner, and Lu Qian were also in the hall. Lu Qingxue was stunned when she heard that. She looked at Yi Li, not understanding where Yi Li was going to take her. "Since you believe me, I will take her away." With that, Yi Li walked to Lu Qingxue. "Let's go. Sister Qingxue." Su Sinner and Lu Qian looked at Lu Qingxue sadly. "Don't worry. They'll be back." Lu Qingxue looked at Su Sinner and Lu Qian. Immediately, Yi Li and Lu Qingxue left the Su family and the Huangjiang base city. After leaving the Huangjiang base city, Yi Li and Lu Qingxue slowly walked in an unknown small city. He released the Apocalypse Legion from the system space. Ada Hongye by Wawa Yutong. Lu Qingxue was a little scared. Although she knew that Ada and the others wouldn't hurt her, the pressure of 4 6th-tier zombies made her unable to calm down. "Brother, we can finally come out," Yutong said to Yi Li in a childish voice. Since Yutong put on the white princess lowly dress, she had become extremely cute. Now that she had become a 6th-tier evolved being, she was naturally like a porcelain doll. Yi Li touched Yutong's head, and Yutong smiled sweetly again. Hongya, who had the prettiest face in the Apocalypse Legion, was wearing a stunning fiery red dress, and had long hair that reached her waist. At this moment, the sun shone on Hongya's exquisite jade-like cheeks. There was no telling if the sun illuminated Hongya, or Hongya illuminated the sun. Seeing Yutong's sweet smile, Lu Qingxue was less afraid. "Senior, where are we going now?" Lu Qingxue looked at Yi Li and asked. "The Anan base city." Yi Li slowly opened his mouth. Immediately, Yi Li led the Apocalypse Legion and Lu Qingxue to the Anan base city. They arrived at the outer city of the Anan base city. Yi Li was now an absolute celebrity here. Everyone knew him. Seeing that it was Yi Li and his Apocalypse Legion, the generals of the outer city immediately shivered in shock. "Master Yi!" a senior colonel shouted at Yi Li. Then the city gate opened. Lu Qingxue was a little stunned. She didn't expect Yi Li to have such special privileges in the Anan base city. Then she understood. She felt that there was nothing that senior couldn't do. Chapter 163. I'm here for Qian Ruxue. Yi Li didn't put his Apocalypse Legion into the system space. Anyway, everyone in the Anan base city knew that he had 4 6th-tier zombies. He guessed that the recruiters who came to the Anan base city to recruit students had already returned to the Cloud Peak Academy. After all, it had only taken him a few days to come from the Huangjiang base city. Even if they didn't leave, Yi Li wasn't afraid at all. Soon, he walked from the outer city to the main city of the Anan base city. Seeing that it was Yi Li, the pedestrians on the streets of the Anan base city all stopped and looked. "Master Yi is back. Master Yi is so handsome. If one can win Master Yi's favor, one would be willing to live 10 years less. Come on, you want to win Lord Yi's favor? Why don't you find a mirror to look at yourself? I'm different. I'm so beautiful." The beautiful girls on the streets of the Anan base city all looked infatuated. Yi Li was too famous in the Anan base city now. The people in the Anan base city could forget their own birthdays or even their wives' names, but they would never forget who Yi Li was. That day, the members of the Dark Race led an army of 100,000 zombies to attack the Anan base city. If it weren't for Yi Li, the Anan base city would have long been destroyed. It could be said that Yi Li was their savior. Lu Qingxue was shocked. She had heard of the Anan base city, but she didn't know that Yi Li was so famous in the Anan base city. From the looks of it, he was simply the common idol of everyone in the Anan base city. The news of Yi Li's return to the Anan base city instantly spread throughout the entire city. The Anan Council, the highest power organization in the Anan base city, immediately came to welcome them in person. The roads that Yili walked on were paved with red carpets, and cannons were fired. The people of the Anan-based city cheered in unison. Master Yi, will you stay in the Anan-based city from now on? Yunmu said to Yili. Yili shook his head. I'm here in the Anan-based city for Qianruxue. Qianruxue? The 10 core members of the Anan Council were all a little stunned. They dared to swear that this was the first time they had heard the name Qianruxue. Master Yi, who is Qianruxue? The president of the Anan Council, Kong Lin, asked Yili. Yili had forgotten Qianruxue's name in the Anan-based city. Qianruxue's name was Meilin. Meilin, Yili said slowly. They naturally knew the name Meilin. Although they didn't know why Yili wanted to talk to Meilin, they would never ask. Master Yi, Ms. Meilin, Xiao Hui, and Yun Man are at the Anan Academy. Do you need us to go with you? Yunmu asked. No need. Yili waved his hand. Immediately, Yili took Lu Qingxue to the Anan Academy. They soon arrived at the Anan Academy. Yili still remembered the Anan Academy very clearly. Everyone in the Anan-based city started to be afraid of him because of what he did in the Anan Academy. He suddenly remembered a person's name, Chen Yun. Chen Yun's father, Chen Ba, died at the hands of Yili. After that, Chen Yun disappeared. No matter which world it was, there were 2 deep hatreds, one for killing a man's father, and the other for snatching a man's woman. Yili thought that Chen Yun must have left Anan-based city. As the saying went, it was never too late for a man to take revenge. It was only natural for him to take revenge for his father. He would just wait for Chen Yun's revenge. Chapter 164. Take a person away. The students of the Anan Academy widened their eyes when they saw Yili. Some of the students who had just entered the Anan Academy had come from the surrounding cities of the Anan-based city. They hadn't experienced the zombies' last large-scale attack on the Anan-based city. Yili's photos could be seen everywhere in the Anan Academy. All the faculty and staff in the Anan-based city regarded Yili as their lifelong faith. Some students who didn't know Yili's deeds all stared at Yili, thinking that since Master Yili had personally come to the Anan Academy, they had to take a good look at him. Master Yili is really awesome. I feel that the 9 heavens god of war has appeared in front of me. Look, there are 4 6th-tier zombies behind Lord Yili. These are Lord Yili's Apocalypse Legion, Ada, Hongya, Baiwawa, and Yutong. If only I could be 1/10,000th as powerful as Master Yili in my life, I would have been satisfied. Then the president of the Anan Academy and many teachers came over to greet Yili. The president of the Anan Academy said respectfully to Yili, Master Yi, what can I do for you? Where is Ms. Meilin? Yili asked leisurely. Master Yi, Ms. Meilin is in the Purple Moon Forest. The Purple Moon Forest was the place with the richest spiritual energy in the Anan Academy. Yili didn't say anything and slowly walked towards the Purple Moon Forest. At this moment, many students were sitting cross-legged on the ground cultivating. Every student's forehead was drenched in sweat. Ms. Meilin, are you really leaving Anan-based city? Yun Man looked at Qianruxue sadly. Yun Man, you and Xiao Hui are going to the Cloud Peak Academy in a few days. When you reach the Cloud Peak Academy, your future will be limitless. I'm going back to where I should go, Qianruxue said. But Ms. Meilin, where are you going? Why didn't you tell me? Xiao Hui's cute little face was full of curiosity. Qianruxue shook her head. You will find out later. If you go back, you have to take someone with you. An abrupt voice entered the ears of everyone in the Purple Moon Forest. Everyone widened their eyes and looked in the direction of the voice. Then they froze. Some were shocked and some shed tears. Xiao Hui rubbed her eyes. Man, am I seeing things? Why am I seeing Senior in front of me? I'm seeing him too. Yun Man couldn't believe it either. Yili walked to them and smiled at them. Don't speak yet. Let me think. You should be thinking about me every night. Every night should be a sleepless night for you, right? Yili said lightly. As soon as he said this, Xiao Hui, Yun Man, and Qianruxue blushed like ripe apples, making one want to take a bite. Senior, Yun Man and I will go to Cloud Peak Academy in a few days, Xiao Hui said to Yili. Yili smiled. Go to the Cloud Peak Academy and cultivate well. Otherwise, how can you travel with me in the future? By the way, let me introduce you to a friend, Lu Qingxue. With that, Yili asked Lu Qingxue to come over. After Xiao Hui, Yun Man, and Qian Ruxue introduced themselves to Lu Qingxue, Yili looked at Qian Ruxue and said, "Are you leaving?" Qian Ruxue hesitated for a few seconds, and then nodded. "Take her away. This is my request." Yili looked at Qian Ruxue. Chapter 165. These are gifts for you. Qian Ruxue was stunned. Looking at Yili's serious expression, for some reason, she didn't even want to ask why. Okay. Qian Ruxue nodded firmly. Lu Qingxue had no intention of refusing. She knew that Yili was already a great benefactor to her by taking her out of the Huangjiang base city. How could she dare to say anything else? "Senior, how long will you stay this time?" Xiao Hui looked at Yili and asked. "I'll leave immediately." Yili pondered for a moment and said. Xiao Hui, Yun Man, Qian Ruxue, and Lu Qingxue were all stunned. Yili knew very well that he was far from strong enough now. In the face of the powerful dark race members and the powerful genetic warriors, he was still very helpless. He had to level up crazily. He suddenly thought of something and looked at the four women. "Before I leave, I'll give you something." As soon as he finished speaking, Yili opened the point mall. He still had more than 700,000 points, which was enough to buy many things. He searched in the point mall and saw a few things. Swallow steps, origin returning dance, flying flower speed, purple phoenix leg. All four skills were great, each worth 100,000 points. Yili bought these four skills without hesitation. After collecting the items, 4 secret books appeared in Yili's hand. "These are for you. You can choose for yourselves," Yili said lightly. Xiao Hui, Yun Man, Qian Ruxue, and Lu Qingxue looked at the secret book in Yili's hand in shock. "Senior, what are these?" Yun Man asked weakly. "These 4 skill books are all great. These are my gifts to you before I leave," Yili replied. As soon as he said this, the 4 women were shocked. Great skills were absolute treasures. They didn't expect Yili to take out such treasures without even frowning, and there were 4 of them. The 4 women each took the skill books they liked and couldn't bear to put them down. "I'm leaving," Yili slowly said. The 4 women were shocked and all looked up at Yili. "Senior, so fast?" Xiao Hu's voice was full of sadness. "Yes, cultivate well after you and Yun Man go to the Cloud Peak Academy," Yili said slowly. As soon as he finished speaking, Yili slowly walked back. Xiao Hui, Yun Man, Qian Ruxue, and Lu Qingxue stared at Yili's receding figure until he disappeared from their sight. As soon as Yili left Anan Base City with the Apocalypse Legion, the system's voice appeared in his mind. "Ding! The Heavenly Tower trial has been triggered. Host, please keep going north." Yili was a little surprised. How could he have forgotten this? Yes, even the dragon-slaying blade had a trial, so must be the Heavenly Tower. Thinking of the shocking spiritual treasure he obtained from the dragon-slaying blade trial, Yili couldn't stay calm anymore. Then he led Ada, Hongye by Wawa and Yutong north. He didn't know how long he had walked, but he still hadn't reached the so-called Heavenly Tower trial. Instead, he had synthesized more than 100 zombies. Yili continued to walk. Suddenly he came to a beach by the sea. If others were suddenly taken to another place out of nowhere, they would be scared out of their wits. But Yili looked very excited. This was because he knew that this was the trial of the Heavenly Tower. Chapter 166. Hundreds of Tier 1 zombies. Yili was on the beach. In front of him was a vast sea. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky, and strange beasts flew across the sea from time to time. Roar! Roar! Yili was slightly stunned. There were zombies on the beach too. He looked over in an instant and found hundreds of zombies rushing over. When these zombies saw Yili, they were like people who hadn't eaten for 10 days and 10 nights seeing food. They were simply crazy. What Yili didn't expect was that these zombies all had green eyes, which meant that these zombies were all Tier 1 zombies. Yili had never encountered a group of Tier 1 zombies before. He smiled. More than 100 Tier 1 zombies? Besides, the number of male and female zombies was the same, which meant that he could produce 4 6th-tier zombies. The Apocalypse Legion was all 6th-tier zombies now. It seemed that he had obtained a lot from the trial of the Heavenly Tower. Attack! Yili gave command to the Apocalypse Legion. As soon as he finished speaking, Ada, Hongya, Baiwawa, and Yutong rushed out and used their respective skills. More than 100 Tier 1 zombies were extremely terrifying. But in Yi Li's eyes, they were nothing more than this, because his super-synthesized system was even more terrifying. Ada and the others were all 6th-tier zombies. As long as a zombie fell, Yi Li would start to synthesize the zombies to attack other zombies. There were more and more zombies on Yi Li's side, and there would be fewer and fewer Tier 1 zombies. Before long, the Tier 1 zombie group was completely wiped out. Without hesitation, Yi Li began to synthesize these 100 or so Tier 1 zombies. As he expected, these 100 or so Tier 1 zombies happened to synthesize 4 6th-tier zombies, 2 6th-tier male zombies, and 2 6th-tier female zombies. Yi Li dragged the 4 6th-tier zombies to the bodies of the 4 members of the Apocalypse Legion. Ding! Do you want to confirm the synthesis? Yes. Alda has been upgraded to a Tier 7 zombie. Hongya has been upgraded to a Tier 5 zombie. Baiwawa has been upgraded to a Tier 5 zombie. Yutong has been upgraded to a Tier 7 zombie. As the system finished speaking, Yi Li looked at Ada, Hongya, Baiwawa and Yutong. He discovered that after Ada and the others became level 7 zombies, the corpseization features on their faces had completely disappeared, and their eyes had turned red. If it weren't for the red eyes, ordinary people wouldn't have associated Ada and the others with zombies. Besides, their appearance became even better. Yi Li looked at their attributes. Ada, a Tier 7 zombie. Zombie attribute, Strength. Zombie Arcana. Earth-shattering fist, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. Zombie exclusive weapon. Supreme boxing gloves. Hongya, a Tier 7 zombie. Zombie attribute, Speed. Zombie Arcana. Frost Chi zombie-only weapon. None for now. Baiwawa, a Tier 7 zombie. Zombie attribute, Defense. Zombie Arcana. Absolute defense, Qilin foot zombie-only weapon. None for now. Yutong, a Tier 7 zombie. Zombie attribute, Comprehension. Zombie Arcana. Petrification zombie-only weapon. None for now. Yi Li thought that now that they were all Tier 7 zombies, he would be invincible in the Huangjiang base city. After the trial of the dragon-slaying blade, Yi Li knew that this was only the first test. There were still several tests to come. At this moment, a shocking wave suddenly rose on the sea. Chapter 167. A Tier 7 giant member of the Dark Race. As soon as Yi Li checked the attributes of Ada and the others, a shocking wave suddenly rose on the sea. Boom! A tsunami-like sound came. Yi Li could tell that a giant monster was coming out of the sea. Roar! Yi Li listened to the terrifying sound. Suddenly, a giant demon finally appeared. Host, this is a kind of sea race member of the Dark Race. The system's voice appeared in Yi Li's mind. It was exactly as Yi Li thought. There were many kinds of members in the Dark Race, and they were much more terrifying than zombies. If he wanted the entire post-apocalyptic world to return to its former peace, he had to destroy the Dark Race. This giant demon was dozens of feet tall, and had countless tentacles. Its entire body was pitch black like steel, and it stood in the sea shockingly. Looking at this huge Dark Race member, Yi Li couldn't help but think of the last boss of Ultraman, who looked very similar to this Dark Race member. However, being big didn't necessarily mean being strong. This huge Dark Race member in front of him was only at the 7th level, comparable to the Black Dragon Pool Yi Li had encountered in the Black Dragon Pool. Suddenly, this huge member of the Dark Race opened his mouth, and a terrifying light wave kept charging in his mouth, as if it could destroy the world as long as it was launched. Boom! As a terrifying lightning bolt struck the sea and the sky, the originally dark sky was illuminated as if it were daytime. At this moment, the black light wave in the mouth of the giant Dark Race member was finally charged and charged towards Yi Li. When this black light wave passed the sea, a huge waterspout appeared on the sea, turning everything it passed into ashes. Swish! Just as the black light wave was about to attack, Yi Li, Ada, Hongya, Baiwawa, and Yutong had already jumped into the air. Ada and the others were all Tier 7 now, so they could naturally fly for a short time. There was no need to talk about Yi Li. The zombies produced treasure chests every day, which contained all kinds of attribute points. He was also an SSS-level genetic warrior. He could fly high in the air, jump from tall buildings to flat ground, and walk across rivers and seas. After Yi Li and the Apocalypse Legion arrived in Midair, although this huge dark race member was terrifyingly born, he was only at the 7th tier after all. He took out the dragon-slaying blade from the system space, raised it high and shouted, "Flame blade technique." As soon as he finished speaking, the dragon-slaying blade slashed down heavily. Countless terrifying fire blades attacked the huge dark race member. In an instant, the sea under the huge dark race member turned into a real sea of fire. At the same time, Ambassador A launched the earth-shattering fist. The fist shadows of the earth-shattering fist were mixed with the attacks of wind, rain, lightning, and thunder. Hongye raised her palms, and the fiery red dress was as cold as ice. Frost Chi rushed out of her palms. Although Bai Wawa looked like a child, he was wide and fat. His right foot suddenly became extremely huge. People only knew that there was a Qilin arm, but they didn't know that there was also a Qilin foot. Bai Wawa raised the Qilin foot and stomped at the huge member of the dark race. Yutong was extremely cute. She was wearing a white princess lowly dress, and an invisible light shot out of her pupils. This was the light of petrification. The poor giant member of the dark race was burnt by fire, punched, frozen, stepped on, and petrified. This scene was simply tragic. Chapter 168. The Power of the Heavenly Tower. This pitiful giant member of the dark race fell heavily after being hit by fire and ice. Yi Li's handsome face was calm. He certainly wouldn't feel the slightest joy. If his Apocalypse Legion couldn't even deal with the Tier 7 member of the dark race, how could he dominate this world? Among the 4 members of the post-apocalyptic world army, Ada was the strongest, followed by Bai Wawa, and Hongye and Yutong were weaker. However, now was not the time to consider this. He had to complete the trial of the Heavenly Tower first. Yi Li and Ada landed on the sea. He looked at an island in the distance. The Heavenly Tower's final trial must be on that island. Let's go to that island, Yi Li said to the Apocalypse Legion. Immediately, Yi Li led the Apocalypse Legion towards the island. After walking thousands of meters on the sea, a group of dark race members emerged from the sea. These members of the dark race were about the same size as humans. There were hundreds of them. They held steel forks and looked like mermen. Their eyes were red and emitted a creepy light. These members of the dark race were all Tier 2 evolved beings. With hundreds of them gathered together, they were definitely terrifying. Unfortunately, under absolute power, all cohesion would be reduced to nothingness. Yi Li suddenly thought that he could use the dragon-slaying blade before it recognized him as its master, which meant that he could also use the Heavenly Tower. If he used the Heavenly Tower here, no one would see him. He could try the power of the Heavenly Tower. Suddenly, Yi Li took out the Heavenly Tower from the system space. The Heavenly Tower was one of the 10 great divine weapons. Its suppressing power was extremely domineering. Many people had found the 10 great divine weapons, but no one had been able to pry out the secrets inside. This was because the 10 great divine weapons would disappear at a certain time. Even if they hugged them to sleep every day, they would disappear. However, if you made them recognize you as their master, they wouldn't disappear. Although the dragon-slaying blade trial seemed simple, it was actually very difficult. This was because he had the Apocalypse Legion. If he was alone, the difficulty could be imagined. What was even more terrifying was that the divine weapon trial could be strong or weak according to the specific person. Since ancient times, there were only a handful of people who could pass the divine weapon trials. After Yi Li took out the Heavenly Tower from the system space, the Heavenly Tower appeared in his hand. The Heavenly Tower had 7 floors. It was completely black and looked quaint, as if it had experienced the vicissitudes of time. Kill! Hundreds of mermen rushed over with steel forks. In the water, the combat power of mermen was much stronger than on land. However, Yi Li threw the Heavenly Tower into the air. After the Heavenly Tower passed in midair, it instantly became thousands of feet long. Suppress! As soon as Yi Li finished speaking, the Heavenly Tower fell at a terrifying speed towards the hundreds of mermen below. The scene was terrifying. Immediately, screams were heard continuously on the sea. With this blow from the heavenly tower, more than 100 mermen died. Yili thought that the heavenly tower was similar to the dragon-slaying blade, as expected of one of the 10 great divine weapons. It was fucking awesome. The remaining mermen were about to rush to Yili's side. Their red eyes looked extremely evil, thinking that they could take revenge when they reached Yili. Unfortunately, they had overlooked one thing. This was enough for them to die 10 times. Kill them, Yili said slowly. As soon as he finished speaking, Ada, by Wawa, Hongye and Yutong took action. Chapter 169. Primordial Demons. These mermen were all Tier 2 members of the Dark Race. They couldn't withstand a single blow from the Apocalypse Legion. Not long after, all these mermen were dead. Yili stood straight, his face still expressionless. Then, they continued to walk towards the island. This time, there was no resistance on the sea, and they successfully landed on the island. This island was bare and devoid of plants. A stone platform suddenly appeared in front of Yili. On the stone platform, there was a black and quaint treasure chest that emitted golden light. Yili didn't expect it. He had thought that there were still a few levels, but he didn't expect that the stone platform had come out. Last time, during the trial of the dragon-slaying blade, Yili opened the treasure chest and obtained 3 golden pills. Ada and the others directly jumped from a Tier 4 zombie to a Tier 6 zombie. Yili smiled casually, thinking that it couldn't be bad either this time. Then, Yili slowly walked to the stone platform. After reaching the stone platform, he slowly placed his hands on the dark and quaint treasure chest. Without any hesitation, Yili opened the treasure chest. In an instant, a dazzling light came. After the dazzling light disappeared, Yili looked at the treasure chest, which contained a skill book. It was obvious that this skill book was from a long time ago. There were 4 words on it. Primordial Demon / Primordial Demon / an S-grade skill. With a single slash, 3,000 Godfiend phantoms will be slashed out. Wherever they go, everything will be turned into ashes, and this technique can be upgraded to SSS level. It was an S-grade skill, and it could be upgraded to the SSS level. This was too terrifying. Ding. Do you want to practice the Primordial Demon /? Yes. Yili slowly said. Start cultivating Primordial Demon / IO %, 30%, 60%, 100%. Primordial Demon / has been successfully cultivated. Ding. Because the Primordial Demon / is compatible with the Ancient Devil Tome, the host's current strength has already exceeded that of a 6th tier evolved being. Congratulations, host, for becoming a Tier 7 evolved being. Next, the host will obtain a super treasure chest. Do you want to open it? Yili thought that cheats were offered too frequently, weren't they? Open it. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the exclusive skill for zombies, Snowflakes and Light Energy Impact. Snowflakes grade skill. After upgrading to S grade, snowflakes can fill the sky, and every snowflake has an attack effect. Light Energy Impact and level skill. After upgrading to S level, light can pierce through the sky and earth. It was just like whatever he wanted would come. Hongye and Yutong were weaker in the Apocalypse Legion. But now that they had these 2 skills, they were evenly matched with other zombies in strength. Without thinking too much, Yili fused the snowflakes into Hongye's body, and the light energy impact into Yutong's body. Ding! The Heavenly Tower wants to acknowledge you as its master. Do you agree? Agreed. As long as the Heavenly Tower recognized him as its master, the Heavenly Tower wouldn't disappear, and could always be used by him. The Heavenly Tower has recognized you as its master. 10%, 30%, 60%, 100%. The Heavenly Tower has successfully acknowledged you as its master. Yili was in a good mood. He and the Apocalypse Legion had both reached the 7th tier, which meant that they could do whatever they wanted in the cities under the jurisdiction of the Huangjiang base city. Immediately, Yili retreated from the trial of the Heavenly Tower. At this moment, he was in an unknown small city. This place was still within the range of Anan base city. Yili didn't think too much about it, and led the Apocalypse Legion towards the Huangjiang base city. Chapter 170. A zombie hunting team. Yili led the Apocalypse Legion to a small town not far from the Huangjiang base city. The streets of this town were full of zombies, but unfortunately, these zombies were not alive at all, but lying on the streets in pieces. The scene in front of him was really creepy, as if a big battle had happened not long ago. Yili was a little curious and walked forward. After swallowing the python gallbladder in the West Mountain burial mound, and obtaining the heavenly spirit eyes, Yili's vision reached a terrifying level. After only a few steps, he heard the roars of zombies. Roar! Roar! However, these zombies didn't discover him. Instead, they were fighting a group of human genetic warriors. There were 10 human genetic warriors in this group. They were all wearing the same ink-black clothes, with a golden word embroidered on their backs, Kush. Yili took a look. These genetic warriors were all Tier 1 evolved beings, and the zombies they faced were all level 3 to level 4 zombies. It was obvious that this was a team hunting zombies. There were such teams in every base city. As long as they hunted zombies, they could gain additional points on the scoreboard. The higher the level of the zombies they hunted, the higher the additional points. The points obtained from hunting zombies could be exchanged for prizes from the special exchange organizations in the base cities. Haha, as long as one kill these zombies, I can exchange for a D-grade skill one dreamed of. Me too. As long as I can exchange for the skills I want, my strength can rise to another level. I think we'd better be careful. One wonder if there are any mutant zombies in this town. Soon, Kush team killed hundreds of ordinary zombies, and all 10 of them had happy smiles on their faces. Yili looked bored. He had thought that something interesting would happen. However, Yili thought that since this road led to the Huangjiang base city anyway, he should tell them not to hunt zombies, and leave the remaining zombies for him to synthesize. As the saying went, those who do not act for themselves will be condemned by heaven and earth. Immediately, Yili led the Apocalypse Legion to slowly walk towards Kush team. Captain, I think we should return to the base city. After all, we've been out for so many days, said a bald man in his 30s. Well, let's go back first. After we exchange for the skills we want, we can continue to hunt zombies, said the captain of Kush team. As soon as he finished speaking, Kush team was about to leave. But at this moment, one of the team members seemed to have discovered something. His entire body was trembling violently as he pointed at a place and shouted, Captain! Captain, zombies, there are zombies! The other 9 team members were stunned. They thought that it was good to have zombies. They would just kill them by the way. But when they looked in the direction of the trembling team member's finger, they were all scared out of their wits. Well, Tier 7 zombies. 4 Tier 7 zombies. The 10 members of Kush team were dumbstruck. They had even forgotten how to escape. However, Yili slowly walked over with his Apocalypse Legion. He looked casual and carefree. With the realm of the 10 people in Kush team, they naturally couldn't see Yili's realm, but they could see the level of the zombies. Red eyes. What else could they be but Tier 7 zombies? Oh my god, run. The captain of Kush team trembled in fright. He was so scared that he peed his pants. Chapter 171. Horrified Kush team. The captain of Kush team peed his pants in fright. But how could he care about peeing at this moment? Staying alive was the most important. These were 4 Tier 7 zombies. The strongest existence in the Huangjiang base city, Elder Su Changfeng, was only a Tier 7 evolved being. Now 4 Tier 7 zombies had appeared. And, at the front of the 4 Tier 7 zombies was an unfathomable human. No. This was definitely not a human, but an unfathomable member of the dark race. Only the dark race members could control zombies, and there were 4 Tier 7 zombies. They couldn't imagine how strong this dark race member was. Just as Kush team was about to use all their strength to escape, Yili activated the swift steps and instantly disappeared. When he appeared again, Yili had already arrived in front of the 10 people of Kush team. Ollie, seeing this, the 10 people of Kush team all screamed in fright and fell limp to the ground like seeing evil ghosts. They all looked different, but one thing was the same. They were all horrified. You, what do you want? The captain looked at Yili in horror. The 10 members of Kush team knew very well that their lives were in Yi Li's hands. As long as Yi Li waved a hand, they would die on the spot. Are you very afraid? Yi Li said lightly. The 10 people in Kush team were not only afraid, but also extremely frightened. They dared to swear that even if the sky collapsed at this moment, they wouldn't be so afraid. This was because the sky collapsed in an instant. But Yi Li and the 4 level 7 zombies might torture them terribly. Ada by Wawa, Hongya, and Yutong also came to Yi Li. At this moment, the 10 people of Kush team couldn't say anything. They all looked at Yi Li in horror. By the way, which base city are you from? Yi Li slowly asked. The captain of Kush was shocked and didn't dare to hide anything. We are from the Huangjiang base city. Yi Li's handsome face was still calm. He really didn't understand why they were so afraid. He just wanted to ask a few questions. Was it necessary? Or was it that Yi Li was a suffocating existence in the first place? My lord, please let us go. The captain looked at Yi Li pleadingly. When did I say that I would kill you? Yi Li said lightly. As soon as he said this, the 10 people of Kush team shivered. They would never have thought that Yi Li would say such a thing. Huh? Yi Li suddenly turned his head and looked back. Then he put on a leisurely smile. He really didn't expect that there would be a member of the dark race in this palm-sized town. Since there was one, he might as well kill it by the way. Giggle, creepy laughter suddenly sounded. Dozens of humanoid mantis monsters flew over. These humanoid mantis monsters were all Tier 3 dark race members. One didn't expect there to be so many humans. We can have a full meal. Yes, one haven't eaten a human in a long time. I can't help drooling at the thought of the delicious taste of human beings. Humans don't run. We're coming. The more than 20 humanoid mantis monsters were extremely smug because in their opinion, Yi Li and the Kush team were already their food. Unfortunately, when Ada by Wawa, Hongya, and Yutong turned around they didn't think so. Chapter 172. Let's go together. Ada by Wawa, Hongya and Yutong turned around. When the more than 20 Tier 3 humanoid mantis monsters saw this scene, they were horrified. But they had no time to stop now, because their speed was too fast just now. What should they do now? Tier 7 zombies. Stop. What's wrong with this damn speed? Stop. More than 20 humanoid mantis monsters used all their strength and finally stopped. Unfortunately, Ada and the others had already arrived in front of them. Boom. Ada threw out the earth-shattering fist. Coupled with the attack of wind, rain, lightning and thunder, this punch even cracked the space. The more than 20 Tier 3 humanoid mantis monsters didn't even have the time to scream before they turned into nothingness, not even leaving their ashes. As the saying went, one should never provoke someone he shouldn't. Yi Li's handsome face was as calm as water, but the 10 people in Kush team froze like clay sculptures. Their eyes widened even more than a bull's, and their mouths opened so wide that they could swallow an extra-large bowl. More than 20 Tier 3 dark race members had disappeared just like that? They really couldn't imagine the horror of Tier 7 zombies. Did you just say that you're from the Huangjiang base city? Yi Li looked at the 10 people of Kush team and slowly spoke. The people of Kush team nodded quickly like rattle drums. They knew very well that if Yi Li was displeased at all, they would definitely die a horrible death. Honorable existence, we are from the Huangjiang base city. The captain of the Kush team hurriedly replied. It was time for Yi Li to go to the Huangjiang base city. He looked at the captain and said, let's go together. What? Hearing this, the 10 people of Kush team felt as if a bolt of lightning had struck their heads. They had thought that they were already shocked enough just now, but now they realized that not only were they wrong, but they were completely wrong. This powerful member of the dark race wanted to go to the Huangjiang base city with them? Well, could it be? The 10 members of Kush team suddenly thought of an astonishing possibility, which was that this powerful member of the dark race was going to attack Huangjiang base city. It was because this powerful member of the dark race had 4 Tier 7 zombies and could control 4 Tier 7 zombies. So his strength was naturally unfathomable. Are you surprised? Yi Li looked at the 10 people of Kush team indifferently. The 10 members of Kush team looked at each other in bewilderment. Shouldn't they be surprised? Don't ever be surprised. because everything I do is enough to surprise you for 3 days and 3 nights. Yili slowly said. The 10 members of Kush team trembled. They knew that their lives were already in Yili's hands. At this moment, they had no choice but to take Yi to the Huangjiang base city. Yili put the Apocalypse Legion into the system space. He didn't want to expose his Apocalypse Legion so quickly in the Huangjiang base city. Immediately, Yili followed the 10 people of Kush team to the Huangjiang base city. After passing by some towns on the way, Yili and Kush team came to a city that Yili had never been to. My lord, after this city, we can reach the Huangjiang base city. But there are many zombies in this city. Do we need to take a detour? As soon as Kush said so, he regretted it. Wasn't this a powerful member of the dark race? The dark race could control zombies. Detour my ass. Chapter 173. Is this the last meal? Yili had never been to this city, but the roads to the Huangjiang base city extended in all directions. The entire outer city surrounded the main city, and there were 24 city gates. Let's go, Yili said leisurely. At this moment, the sun was already setting. The setting sun was as red as blood, dyeing half of the sky red. The sky seemed to be full of fiery clouds, looking extremely shocking. The 10 members of the Kush team panicked when they heard that. Yili was a member of the dark race and wasn't afraid of zombies, but they weren't. Although they were a team hunting zombies, there were too many zombies in this city. If they went in, they would definitely be doomed. Yili certainly wouldn't care about their thoughts. Since there were many zombies in this city, he might as well synthesize them. Seeing Yili move, the 10 members of the Kush team could only bite the bullet and follow him. This city was called Xing City, a heavily infected area. After arriving in Xing City, Yili went to a tree and sat on it. The Kush team was stunned, not understanding what Yili meant. You must be hungry, Yili said slowly. The 10 members of the Kush team paused. Yes, they were indeed hungry. If others asked if they were hungry, they would naturally think of giving them food. But the person sitting under the tree was a powerful member of the dark race. Who could expect this member of the dark race to give them food? The Kush team was horrified because they guessed that Yili might let them do some unsightly things. For example, eating zombies to fill their stomachs. Unfortunately, even if they thought about it 100 times, 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times, they wouldn't expect Yili to throw 2 boxes of food over. They were stunned. They swore they were really stunned. A dark race member gave them food? This was probably the first time since zombies appeared in this world. Yili released the Apocalypse Legion from the system space and asked them to lure the zombies over. Why aren't you eating? Eat quickly. You won't have a chance to eat later. Yili slowly said, but his words were misunderstood. Yili meant that when the zombies came over, they would probably be too shocked to eat. But the Kush team didn't think so. They thought that this was their last meal. The other 9 members of the Kush team all looked at the captain, who smiled bitterly. Let's eat. Even if we die, we'll die after eating our fill. Then the 10 people of the Kush team began to eat. They began to cry as they ate. Boo-hoo! Boo-hoo! At this moment, the voices of countless zombies entered their ears. Hearing the roars of countless zombies, the 10 members of the Kush team hurriedly looked in all directions, only to be horrified. 1,000 zombies. No, thousands of zombies were rushing over from all directions. The 10 people from the Kush team were as pale as white paper. All their strength seemed to have been drained by something as they retreated weakly. They had thought that Yili would kill them, but they didn't expect it. Yili actually called over so many zombies to eat them. Yili remained expressionless. When thousands of zombies rushed over, he gave an order. Ada and the others began to attack, and countless zombies fell. Yili leisurely opened the synthesized grid in his mind and began to synthesize these fallen zombies. Chapter 174. Star Boots. More than 3,000 zombies were ordinary zombies between level 2 and level 3. It was much easier for Yili to synthesize zombies now than before. As more and more zombies were synthesized by Yili, the 10 people of the Kush team were more and more shocked. What was going on? They had never even heard of it before, let alone seen it. As the number of zombies was decreasing, the level of the zombies was increasing? Not to mention these 3,000 zombies. When the Dark Race members led 100,000 zombies to attack Anan Base City, Yili synthesized more than 20,000 zombies. So what if there were 3,000 zombies? Soon, Yili synthesized all the more than 3,000 zombies. And he created a Tier 2 male zombie and a Tier 2 female zombie. Yili thought that it was not bad. He opened the system space and found that there was still a Tier 3 male zombie and a Tier 3 female zombie in the system space. But he couldn't synthesize them yet. These zombies disappeared. The captain of the Kush team was shocked. They clearly saw that there were thousands of zombies, and the 4 Tier 7 zombies were fighting them. But all the zombies had disappeared just like that? At this time, the sun had completely set and night had fallen. Yili thought that he'd better stay in Xing City for a night and go to the Huangjiang Base City tomorrow. Let's sleep here for the night. Well, go to the Huangjiang Base City tomorrow, Yili said. The 10 members of the Kush team looked at each other. They knew that Yili was not asking for their opinion, but an order that they couldn't refute. However, these 10 people were very stunned. They had thought that Yili called these zombies over to eat them, but they didn't expect it to be like this. Could it be? Was this powerful member of the Dark Race a good person? The 10 members of the Kush team couldn't help but think so. A member of the Dark Race who was willing to give them food and made so many zombies disappear. They didn't believe that he wasn't a good person. The captain looked at Yili, who was sitting under the tree, and felt that his face was a little hot. He had indeed wrongly judged a gentleman. Yili asked Ada to guard him at night, and then fell asleep. The next day, the sun shone on Yili's face. As he opened his eyes, the system prompt rang in his mind. Zombie Treasure Chest X6. Yili opened the zombie treasure chests. Obtained 500 gene points, 500 strength points, 500 speed points, and 500 defense points. Obtained the exclusive zombie equipment Star Boots. Star Boots, an exclusive equipment for S-grade zombies. After wearing it, one kick can shatter oceans and break mountains. Yili secretly smiled. Wasn't this prepared for Baiwawa? With Baiwawa's Qilin foot plus the Star Boots, his combat power would definitely be improved by a level. Without thinking too much, he fused the Star Boots into Baiwawa's body, and Baiwawa's right foot instantly became majestic. Roar! Roar! Hearing this voice, Yili smiled faintly. Why were there always zombies for him to synthesize? There were thousands of zombies again. Yili was a little puzzled. He didn't ask Ada and the others to attract these zombies. These zombies actually came out on a large scale. It seemed that they were gathering somewhere. In this direction, it seemed to be the way to Pan City. Thinking of this, Yili sneered. Was the level 7 spirit soul in Pan City finally going to attack? Chapter 175. Kush Headquarters. Su Yao is coming. Yili thought that the zombies in the surrounding cities of the Huangjiang Base City should be all rushing to Pan City. Since he slaughtered thousands of Dark Race members in Pan City, the 6th tier skeleton undead escaped, and then a 7th level spirit soul came from Pan City. He just wanted to snatch the dragon-slaying blade in his hand. Now that the dragon-slaying blade had recognized him as its master, if they wanted to snatch the dragon-slaying blade, they had to kill him first. Attack! Yili ordered the army of the Apocalypse Legion. As soon as he finished speaking, Ada, Baiwawa, Hongya, and Yutong instantly shot out. More than 3,000 zombies were weak, pitiful, and helpless. How could they resist the attacks of 4 Tier 7 zombies? When luck came, it simply couldn't stop. More than 3,000 zombies, no more no less, happened to be synthesized into a Tier 2 male zombie and a Tier 2 female zombie. Yili synthesized them with the Tier 2 male zombie and the Tier 2 female zombie yesterday into a Tier 3 male zombie and a Tier 3 female zombie. There was still a Tier 3 male zombie and a female zombie in Yili's system space. Yili continued to synthesize them. In this way, a Tier 4 male zombie and a Tier 4 female zombie were produced in the end. Zombie, but they were like nothing in front of this powerful member of the Dark Race at all. The 10 members of the Kush team were shocked. They dared to swear that they would never forget what happened yesterday and today. Let's go, Yili said slowly, his handsome face still expressionless. Then, Yili went to the Huangjiang Base City. In the outer city, Yili put the Apocalypse Legion into the system space. The 10 members of the Kush team looked at Yi Li and swallowed. They had guessed that Yi Li came to the Huangjiang base city to attack it. Don't talk nonsense or play tricks when we go in later. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Yi Li looked at the Kush team and slowly said. The 10 members of the Kush team were shocked and quickly shook their heads like rattle drums. Then, Yi Li followed the Kush team into the Huangjiang base city. On the streets of Huangjiang base city, people were still coming and going, not realizing that the zombies were about to attack the city. Honorable existence, our Kush headquarters is just ahead. Do you want to go in and take a look? The Kush team looked at Yi Li carefully. Kush was the general name of the hunting teams in the Huangjiang base city. There were more than a dozen teams in total, and the team with Yi Li now was Kush Team 2. Guang, why are you still here? Go back to the headquarters. Master Su Yao is coming to the headquarters. At this time, a Tier 1 evolved being walked over and said to the captain of the Kush Team 2. After that, this Tier 1 evolved being quickly ran away. The captain was shocked. Master Su Yao is coming? Honorable existence, since you're not going, well, leave first. The captain looked at Yi Li and said. As soon as he finished speaking, Kush Team 2 quickly walked towards Kush's headquarters. Wait! Just as Kush Team 2 took a step forward, Yi Li stopped them. The 10 people of Kush Team 2 were shocked. Captain Guang turned around and looked at Yi Li in fright. I'll go with you, Yi Li said slowly. He didn't expect that the Kush zombie hunting team was led by Su Yao. This was really interesting. Then Yi Li followed Kush Team 2 to Kush headquarters. When he arrived at the hall of Kush headquarters, there were already more than 100 genetic warriors waiting inside. Chapter 176. The Desperate Plea of Kush Team 2. Most of the genetic warriors in the Kush headquarters hall were Tier 1 evolved beings, with only a few second-tier evolved beings. When over 100 first-tier evolved beings gathered together, it was undoubtedly a formidable force. Yi Li came here just to see what Su Yao was doing in Kush. If Su Yao was here, it meant that the siege of the dark race and zombies hadn't begun yet. With the intelligence network of the Huangjiang base city, it was impossible for them not to know that a large horde of zombies was assembling towards Pan City. Hey, isn't this Guang? Why are you just arriving now? A slightly harsh voice entered Yi Li's ears. Kush Team 2 Captain Guang frowned when he heard this somewhat grating voice, but he had no mental capacity to deal with such matters at the moment. Now, a powerful dark race member was right beside them, and this formidable dark race member also possessed 4 7th-tier zombies. If this powerful dark race was willing, they could all die. Guang had no doubt about the extent of Yi Li's terrifying power. The man speaking appeared to be in his 30s, of medium build, and a hint of arrogance on his face. Team 1's captain is going to embarrass Guang again. This should be quite a spectacle. Guang and Lu Tianyu have never gotten along. This time, Lu Tianyu will probably make Guang feel utterly ashamed. Haha, you're right. Enough talking. Let's watch. Naturally, Lu Tianyu was the speaking man, the captain of Kush Team I, a second-tier evolved being. Lu Tianyu was taken aback and didn't look at Guang, but at Yi Li instead. Guang, is this a civilian you picked up in some small town? A playful look appeared on Lu Tianyu's face. The members of Kush Team 11 were terrified upon hearing this. Lu Tianyu, shut your mouth, Guang quickly exclaimed, afraid of provoking Yi Li's displeasure. Lu Tianyu chuckled, TM just saying Guang. Isn't this just an ordinary person no matter how you look at it? Is it worth making such a fuss? Lu Tianyu was just a second-tier evolved being. Finding out about Yi Li's strength was almost impossible for him. Lu Tianyu, one told you to shut up. Shut up now. At this point, Guang had cursed Lu Tianyu 18 times over in his heart. He thought, you're in for a beating. Don't you dare involve me. The genetic warriors in the hall were all entertained by this scene. They couldn't miss such a good show. In the face of Lu Tianyu's anger, he shrugged indifferently. Since you want say, 111 have to ask myself. After saying that, Lu Tianyu looked at Yi Li. Kid, were you picked up by Guang in some small town? A faint smile appeared at the corner of Yi Li's mouth as he responded slowly. What do you think? Yili spoke slowly. Thump. Suddenly, a thump echoed, and all the members of Kush Team 2 knelt before Yili. The most esteemed presence, it's none of my business. Please spare us. All Guang trembled with fear as he spoke to Yili. Seeing this scene, all the genetic warriors in the Kush Hall were dumbfounded. They couldn't understand why the members of Kush Team 2 were kneeling on the ground. They were even calling him the most esteemed presence and begging for his mercy. Was that necessary? No matter how they looked at it, Yili was just an ordinary person. After a moment of bewilderment, Lu Tianyu snapped back to his senses and disdainfully looked at All Guang kneeling on the ground. All Guang, you're truly useless. You actually got scared by an ordinary person. Yet, All Guang acted as if he hadn't heard Lu Tianyu's words at all. He continued to desperately plead before Yili. Chapter 177. Demonic Aura Suppression. Not only did Lu Tianyu think All Guang was useless, but all the genetic warriors in the Kush Hall also felt that All Guang was utterly embarrassing. Lu Tianyu snorted coldly and then looked at Yili. I'm starting to get curious. Why is All Guang so afraid of you? Do you think you're qualified to talk to me? Yili smiled inwardly, thinking that these ants simply had no idea how high the heavens were and how vast the earth was. Lu Tianyu's eyebrows furrowed upon hearing this, never expecting that Yili would dare to speak to him in such a manner. Brat, you're the first one to talk to me like this. Do you want to know what fate awaits you? Lu Tianyu stared at Yili. All the genetic warriors in the Kush Hall shook their heads. They knew well that since Yili had offended Lu Tianyu, he was doomed. No one can determine my fate, but I can decide the fate of many, including you. Yili spoke slowly. Lu Tianyu burst into laughter, as if he had heard the most hilarious joke ever. Ha ha ha. You crack me up. Did you all hear what he just said? The genetic warriors in the Kush Hall couldn't help but laugh too. They found Yili's words incredibly amusing. You don't believe me? Yili looked at Lu Tianyu coldly. Believe you? Lu Tianyu snorted again. For me to believe, the heavens would have to fall. Yili smiled faintly, and then activated the ancient devil tome. At this moment, he had cultivated the second level of the ancient devil tome. The terrifying demonic aura of the second level was like a nightmare for these low-level evolved beings. In an instant, everyone in the Kush Hall widened their eyes and time seemed to be frozen. Beads of sweat the size of beans continuously dripped down their faces. Terrified, they stared at Yili. Their heartbeats had already reached 200 beats per minute. For some reason, their souls trembled. They dared not breathe. They really dared not breathe. Silence, a deadly silence. Lu Tianyu felt as if he had entered the depths of hell. No. It was more like he had descended into 180 layers of hell. His soul trembled as he gazed at Yili. In this moment, he was overwhelmed by fear, to the point that he even wanted to die. He genuinely wanted to die. Yili looked calmly at Lu Tianyu, and after a few seconds he slowly spoke. Now, do you think one can determine your fate? As he finished speaking, Yili retracted the demonic aura of the second level of the ancient devil tome. All the genetic warriors in the Kush Hall felt as if being reborn, the suffocating pressure dissipating. They began to breathe heavily. However, Lu Tianyu was left utterly limp on the ground, paralyzed with fear. He never would have imagined that Yili could be so terrifying. In this moment, he finally understood why Guang had told him to shut up, and why he had knelt before Yili. The genetic warriors in the Kush Hall looked at Yili with terror. They had thought that Yili would be in for a terrible fate after offending Lu Tianyu, but they couldn't have imagined that the situation would turn out like this. Yili gazed calmly at the collapsed Lu Tianyu. He hadn't wanted to cause any trouble, but who could have predicted that someone would court death? Would you mind if one disabled one of your legs? Yili spoke slowly. Upon hearing this, Lu Tianyu immediately paled in fear. You can't do that. Lord Su Yao is about to arrive. He's a 6th-tier evolved being, and his father is Su Changfeng, the strongest in Huangjiang Bay City. If you touch me, Lord Su Yao won't spare you. Chapter 178. Do you mind if I disable one of your legs? Su Yao. Yili sneered. When Su Yao arrives, ask him if he dares to save you. Who's talking about me? Suddenly, a deep voice entered everyone's ears. This voice was no one else's but Su Yao's, a sixth-tier evolved being. Before he arrived, his voice already did. The genetic warriors in the Kush Hall immediately turned their gaze towards the entrance. After a few seconds, a man in a suit strode in with great confidence. Seeing Su Yao, Lu Tianyu acted as if he had grasped a lifeline, shouting loudly, "Lord Su Yao, please save me! Please save me!" Su Yao paused for a moment. He knew about Captain Lu Tianyu, and it was evident that Lu Tianyu's current state of collapse indicated he had experienced great fear. Furthermore, everyone from Team 2 was kneeling on the ground. Soon, Su Yao's gaze landed on the person before Lu Tianyu. This person had his back turned to him. Su Yao suddenly found the figure very familiar, but he didn't have time to think about it. Lu Tianyu shouted again, "Lord Su Yao, this person intruded into the Kush headquarters. I've told him that you're about to arrive, but he actually said that you're nothing special." Lu Tianyu wasn't as afraid as before because Su Yao had arrived. He thought that Yili couldn't do anything to him now that Su Yao was here. What? Su Yao's anger flared upon hearing this. In the Huangjiang-based city, who didn't know he was the leader of Kush? Someone dared to barge into Kush headquarters. Wasn't that a slap in his face? Su Yao strode up to Yili, wanting to see who exactly Yili was. Who dared to be so arrogant? But then, a cold shiver ran from Su Yao's rear end to his head. The arrogance he had just exhibited vanished without a trace. Mr. Yi? Even if Su Yao only had a day left to live, he wouldn't believe that the person who had intruded into Kush headquarters was Yi Li. Upon hearing Su Yao refer to the intruder as Mr. Yi, the genetic warriors in the Kush Hall were all dumbfounded. Lord Su Yao called that person Mr. Yi? Mr. Yi, that name sounds familiar. Where have I heard it before? Right, Huangjiang Academy, isn't that the same Mr. Yi? Once this was said, all the genetic warriors in the Kush Hall drew in a cold breath. On that day at Huangjiang Academy, Mr. Yi had killed 2 recruiters from Cloud Peak Academy. This incident wasn't a secret among the genetic warrior community of Huangjiang Base City. However, the highest authorities in Huangjiang Base City had issued orders that the events at Huangjiang Academy should not be disclosed. Only the genetic warriors knew it, while the common citizens of Huangjiang Base City remained unaware. Now that even Lord Su Yao was calling that person Mr. Yi, it didn't take a genius to figure out that the Yi Li they had assumed was just an ordinary person was, in fact, the protagonist Mr. Yi from that day at Huangjiang Academy. A wry smile appeared on the faces of the Kush warriors. They were mocking the existence that was actually as towering as a mountain. "Mr. Yi, how did you end up here?" Su Yao said, somewhat embarrassed. However, Yi Li didn't answer Su Yao. He still looked calmly at Lu Tianyu. "Do you mind if I disable one of your legs?" While others could connect Yi Li to Mr. Yi, Lu Tianyu wasn't ignorant either. At this moment he was filled with regrets. Lu Tianyu desperately looked at Su Yao for help, but Su Yao didn't even glance his way. He had offended Mr. Yi. Disabling one of his legs was simply too minor a punishment for him. Chapter 179. Zombie Legion gathering at Pan City. Lu Tianyu was too terrified to utter a complete sentence at this point. His face twisted with fear. Aye. Seeing Lu Tianyu stuttering, Su Yao's expression turned cold as he stared at him. "Lu Tianyu, Mr. Yi merely wants to disable one of your legs. Why are you still hesitating? If it were up to me, I'd take your life. How dare you offend Mr. Yi?" Lu Tianyu was shocked upon hearing this and quickly said to Yi Li, "Mr. Yi, am willing." Yi Li slowly raised his finger, and a terrifying golden spiritual light appeared on it. The genetic warriors in the Kush Hall all held their breaths, watching Yi Li swish. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the air, followed by a horrifying scream. Lu Tianyu's leg was struck by the terrifying golden spiritual light and instantly broke. The genetic warriors in the Kush Hall listened to the spine-chilling screams and exchanged glances. They were simultaneously relieved that they hadn't offended Yi Li. Otherwise, they knew what their fate would be. "Take this waste away." Su Yao spoke coldly. The moment his words fell, a few genetic warriors immediately carried Lu Tianyu out. "Mr. Yi, it's my lack of discipline. I request." Su Yao's words were interrupted by Yili. Coming to the Kush headquarters, you must have something to discuss, right? Yili said calmly. Su Yao was taken aback, looking at Yili's composed face. Mr. Yi, you truly deserve your reputation. You could tell I have something to discuss with just one glance, Su Yao said respectfully. Hearing Su Yao's flattering words, Yili's serene face remained unchanged. Please tell me, Yili said slowly. Su Yao's expression turned serious. He surveyed the genetic warriors in the Kush Hall. This time, Pan City has gathered hundreds of thousands of zombie soldiers and tens of thousands of dark race members. Originally, you wouldn't need to join the battle. However, the situation is dire now. All genetic warriors in Huangjiang-based city must participate, Su Yao said sternly. Upon hearing this, the genetic warriors in the Kush Hall collectively gasped. Hundreds of thousands of zombie soldiers and tens of thousands of dark race members? If this was an attack, could Huangjiang-based city hold on? Seeing the shocked expressions on the faces of the genetic warriors, Su Yao's voice turned cold. What are you afraid of? Does Huangjiang-based city seem weak to you? Huangjiang-based city might be small, but it was much stronger than Annan-based city, with defense forces several times more powerful. All Guang, take them all to the eastern outskirts of the city, and be prepared to counter the zombies at any time. Su Yao tiered Kush Team 2's captain All Guang. Yes, All Guang promptly responded. All Guang then led all the genetic warriors in the Kush Hall out of the Kush headquarters. The entire hall was left with only Yi Li and Su Yao. Mr. Yi, now we. Su Yao didn't finish his sentence. Instead, he looked at Yi Li tentatively. Let's go to the Su family, Yi Li said slowly. He thought about how ambitious that 7th-tier spirit soul was, gathering such a massive army of zombies. It was undoubtedly terrifying. They were merely after his dragon-slaying blade. Unfortunately, even if the dark race had a strategy, did he have no counter-move? Strong or weak? Would Huangjiang-based city fall, or would the dark race retreat? Only time would tell. Soon, Yi Li and Su Yao headed toward the Su family. Chapter 180. A flash of cold light. The sword is drawn not long after. Yi Li and Su Yao arrived at the Su family's residence. The members of the Su family were naturally very familiar with Yi Li. Upon seeing him, their eyes revealed a hint of longing. Of course, they all wished to become someone like Yi Li. However, Yi Li was like a towering peak, standing before them, out of their reach. Su Yao led Yi Li into the main hall of the Su family, only to find that many powerful genetic warriors were in a meeting. These genetic warriors were the strongest members of various major families in Huangjiang-based city. The highest authority in Huangjiang-based city was held by the top 3 families: the Su family, the Lu family, and the Wu family. Father, Mr. Yi has arrived. Su Yao's voice interrupted the intense discussion among the people. Of course, everyone knew who Yi Li was. They all turned their gazes to him. Su Lao was taken aback. He looked at Yi Li and realized that Yi Li had become a 7th-tier evolved being. He clearly remembered that when Yi Li took Qingxue away, he was only a 6th-tier evolved being. But in just a few days, he had become a 7th-tier evolved being. Such speed of cultivation was truly astonishing. Mr. Yi. Su Changfeng quickly got up to greet him. Seeing Su Changfeng stand up, the other family heads also rose in respect. Mr. Yi, this time the zombie horde has gathered at Pan City. Before Lu Xinghe, the head of the Lu family, could finish his sentence, Yi Li interrupted him. I'm already aware. Do you want to know why that 7th-tier spirit soul gathered so many zombies to attack Huangjiang-based city? Yi Li looked at the people and spoke slowly. Everyone was taken aback by his words. Wasn't the dark race gathering so many zombies to conquer Huangjiang-based city? Mr. Yi, are you saying the zombies don't intend to conquer Huangjiang-based city? Su Lao looked at Yi Li with confusion. Yi Li shook his head slowly. Of course not. The reason that the 7th-tier spirit soul gathered so many zombies is to find the dragon-slaying blade. What? The family heads in the Su family's hall were shocked beyond belief. Dragon-slaying blade? Naturally, they knew what the dragon-slaying blade was, one of the 10 great divine weapons. However, it had been so long since anyone had found the dragon-slaying blade that they had almost forgotten about the existence of the 10 great divine weapons. Mr. Yi, are you saying the dragon-slaying blade is in our Huangjiang Bay City? Elder Su asked Yili. That's right. Yili nodded. I wonder if ATR, you knows where the dragon-slaying blade is? Elder Su continued to ask. The family heads in the Su family's hall all looked at Yili, eager to hear his response. After a few seconds of contemplation, Yili slowly spoke. Far away, yet right before your eyes. Hiss! The family heads gasped collectively. None of them could have ever imagined that the dragon-slaying blade was in Yi Li's possession. Mr. Yi, the dragon-slaying blade is in your hands? Elder Su was also stunned. Yi Li thought that there was no need to hide it at this point. He took the dragon-slaying blade out from the system space. Clang! In an instant, the illusion of a blood dragon appeared in the Su family's hall, followed by the resounding sound of sword clashes. The family heads widened their eyes, staring at the peerless divine blade in Yi Li's hand. With just a single glance, they felt a bone-chilling sensation. The dragon-slaying blade. This is the dragon-slaying blade. Elder Su's voice even trembled a bit. Yi Li smiled. Do you want to know why the recruiters from the Cloud Peak Academy thought Qingxue colluded with the Dark Race? Chapter 181. Astonished, the people in the Su family's hall were taken aback by Yi Li's words. They didn't understand why Yi Li would say such things. Mr. Yi, are you suggesting? Lu Xinghe, the head of the Lu family, looked at Yi Li thoughtfully. Yi Li didn't say much. Instead, he released the Apocalypse Legion from the system space. Ada, Baiwawa, Hongye and Yutong stood beside Yi Li. They all had different appearances, but there was one thing they had in common. Their eyes were all red. How was that possible? Shocked, utterly shocked. The family heads in the Su family's hall were so frightened that they quickly retreated. Suddenly, 4 7th-tier zombies appeared before them. How could they not be scared? Well, Su Yao and Lu Xinghe widened their eyes. Even in their wildest dreams, they would never have expected to witness such a scene. Yi Li wasn't surprised by their shock. After all, for 7th-tier zombies suddenly appearing would shock anyone. Now you understand why the recruiters from the Cloud Peak Academy thought Qingxue colluded with the Dark Race, Yi Li said calmly. Elder Su was also frightened. He couldn't believe his eyes as he looked at Yi Li. Mr. Yi, are you really from the Dark Race? Everyone knew that only the Dark Race could control zombies. Elder Su wasn't the only one who thought this. All the family heads in the Su family's hall believed Yi Li was from the Dark Race. However, they clearly remembered that when Yi Li was at Huangjiang Academy, he used golden aura, which corresponded to the talent color of an SSS-level genetic warrior. Everyone knew that the Dark Race didn't have genetic talents. The Dark Race? Yi Li smiled faintly. Do you think I, Yi Li, would belong to the lowly Dark Race? As soon as these words were spoken, the family heads in the Su family's hall were all astonished. They quickly looked at Yi Li. Yes, how could an SSS-level genetic warrior, who could use golden aura, possibly belong to the Dark Race? But if he wasn't from the Dark Race, how could he control zombies, especially 4 7th-tier zombies? Mr. Yi, are you a human or? Elder Su looked at Yi Li. Fundamentally, he naturally didn't believe that Yi Li was from the Dark Race. Yi Li had saved his life. And at Huangjiang Academy, Yi Li had even used a golden light that the Dark Race didn't possess. But if Yi Li was a human, then I'm neither human nor from the Dark Race. I'm a demon, Yi Li said slowly. When Yi Li transmigrated here, he was originally a human. However, since cultivating the ancient devil tome, he was no longer just human. A demon? The family heads in the Su family's hall exchanged glances. This was the first time they had heard the term demon. Mr. Yi, what is a demon? Su Yao felt relieved after knowing that Yi Li wasn't from the Dark Race. He also understood that Yi Li didn't have any ill intentions. Otherwise, there was no need to explain so much to them. After thinking for a moment, Yi Li said, You don't need to delve into what a demon is. Just know that demons are a level higher than the Dark Race. As soon as he said this, the family heads in the Su family's hall all understood. I understand, Mr. Yi. Demons and the Dark Race can both control zombies, but demons are good, while the Dark Race is evil, Su Yao said. The family heads found Su Yao's words not only reasonable, but also logical. Elder Su stroked his white beard and nodded, a look of relief appearing on his face. Let's talk about the crisis of Pan City, Yili said slowly. Chapter 182. A document. Upon hearing Yili's words, Elder Su invited him to take a seat. After the family heads had all settled back into their seats, Elder Su turned to Yi Li and said, Mr. Yi, currently there are tens of thousands of dark race members gathered in Pan City. According to our intelligence, most of these dark race members are in the second or third tier. Their leader is naturally a 7th-tier spirit soul, accompanied by 12 6th-tier dark race members and 124 5th-tier dark race members. At present, there are approximately 300,000 zombies in Pan City, all of them at levels 2 and 3. Our defense work is already in place, and we believe the 7th-tier spirit soul will soon issue the tier to attack the city. Yili thought about the massive horde of 300,000 zombies, which would provide a perfect opportunity for a frenzied synthesis. However, he wasn't sure if Huangjiang-based city could hold up against them. After all, he was currently the strongest combat power in Huangjiang-based city. If he chose to synthesize zombies, he wouldn't be able to fight. Even if he had the synthesized zombies attack other zombies, it would only be a temporary solution. The immense horde of zombies would quickly overpower the zombies he had produced. By the way, Mr. Yi, the power balance ratio between Huangjiang-based city and the dark race in Pan City is 3-7, Elder Su said, looking at Yi Li. 3-7. Everyone knew how vast the disparity in strength was. However, the advantage was that the dark race was the attacking party. Huangjiang-based city's outer defenses were strong, making it easy to defend and difficult to breach. Yi Li smiled faintly. There would probably be a massive zombie synthesis when the time came. Even if that was impossible, he could still unleash a fierce onslaught. During the trial in the Heavenly Tower, Yi Li obtained the Primordial Demon Slash, an S-level attack skill. He had yet to use it, but he would probably use it this time. As the Primordial Demon Slash was activated, 3,000 divine and demon illusions appeared. The scenery in that instant had begun to appeal to Yi Li. Speaking of the Heavenly Tower's trial, Yi Li had forgotten about the tower. In a critical moment, he had activated the tower, directly suppressing the dark race like Mount Tai. Mr. Yi, did you come to Huangjiang-based city this time to help us? Lu Xinghe looked at Yi Li carefully and asked. Yes. Yi Li nodded. When the people in the Su family's hall heard this from Yi Li, they all displayed looks of joy. With Yi Li and the 4 7th-tier zombies joining the fray, the overall strength of their side undoubtedly increased significantly. Elder Su also smiled, looking at Yi Li. Mr. Yi, both Sinner and Xiaoqian have gone to the Cloud Peak Academy. By the way, Mr. Yi, do you know where Qingxue went? Lu Xinghe suddenly asked. After Yi Li agreed to help Huangjiang-based city, the atmosphere in the hall had become more lively. The family heads even began to chat casually. Qingxue is safe with my friend, Yi Li said calmly. At that moment, a man in military attire appeared at the door. He shouted, "Report." Su Yao let the man in military attire enter. After he came in, he handed a document to Elder Su, and then left the hall. The family heads all became solemn. They wanted to know if the dark race was preparing to attack the city. Elder Su looked at the document, his expression changing from solemn to grim. Clap! Elder Su slammed the table abruptly, his voice filled with anger. Xiao Tian, one never thought you would actually join the dark race. The family heads were all surprised by Elder Su's outburst, looking at him. They naturally knew that Elder Su had more to say. Chapter 183. Attack on Huangjiang-based city. Xiao Tian. Xiao Tian was the former head of the Warrior Alliance in Huangjiang-based city. After the defeat of the zombies' attack on Huangjiang-based city, Xiao Tian had the idea to join the dark race. Xiao Tian shared this idea with Elder Su, but naturally Elder Su disagreed. The conflict escalated, and they eventually engaged in a heated fight. In that battle, Elder Su initially had the upper hand, but Xiao Tian used a treacherous move at a critical moment, causing Elder Su to be seriously injured. If it weren't for Yi Li, Elder Su would probably have met his demise by now. Dad, what's going on? Su Yao asked Elder Su. Humph. Elder Su gave a cold snort and said, according to the report, Xiao Tian has arrived in Pan City and is preparing to attack the city alongside the dark race. The family heads couldn't contain their anger upon hearing this. Huangjiang Base City was initially peaceful, but now the Warrior Alliance headquarters wanted to establish branch alliances in various major base cities. Xiao Tian became the head of the Warrior Alliance in Huangjiang Base City, effectively placing him above the top 3 families. The top 3 families were already unhappy with Xiao Tian, and now he was even attempting to align himself with the dark race. How could they tolerate that? Elder Su, since Xiao Tian is preparing to attack us with the dark race, then we shouldn't let him leave alive. Lu Xinghe spoke coldly. Yili smirked secretly, thinking that things were getting more and more interesting. 3 days later, the 7th-tier spirit soul of the dark race in Pan City finally led the attack on Huangjiang Base City. Tens of thousands of dark race members and a horde of 300,000 zombies launched an assault on Huangjiang Base City. The dark race had aerial creatures known as the Strange Bird Tribe, which could spew dark fire. On the ground, there were giants, although they weren't excessively large due to their respective levels. The massive zombie horde employed a trapezoidal formation tactic, with zombies piling up against the city walls. Huangjiang Base City sounded the alarm, and millions of civilians took refuge in enormous shelters. Countless laser cannons on the outer walls of Huangjiang Base City fired incessantly. In the sky, fighter jets clashed with the Strange Bird Tribe of the dark race. The number of zombies was simply overwhelming. The colossal horde charged like a landslide, causing the entire Huangjiang Base City to be on high alert. All the genetic warriors of Huangjiang Base City were frantically slaughtering zombies piled up on the walls. Boom! A strange bird spat out dark fire, sending the chilling flames hurtling towards the outer city wall. Hundreds of guards stationed there were instantly reduced to ashes by the flames. Suddenly, dozens of strange birds spewed dark fire, all aimed at the outer city wall. Ada, make it rain! Yili commanded coldly. As he spoke, Alda triggered the rain element of his wind snow thunder lightning abilities. Instantly, heavy rain poured down, extinguishing the dark fire in an instant. Yili wielded the dragon-slaying blade, pointed his toe on the ground, and leaped into the air. Flame blade technique. With a heavy slash, the dragon-slaying blade descended, sending countless fiery blades toward the strange birds. Dozens of strange birds were instantly engulfed by the fiery blades. There were simply too many strange birds in the sky, and one fighter jet after another began to fall. The horde of 300,000 zombies stretched the battlefront, making it difficult for the defending forces on the outer wall to manage the situation. Countless laser cannons were destroyed, and many zombies had already climbed onto the outer city walls. Soon, the sound of cries echoed through the air. Yili smiled faintly as he remained in midair. These zombies were truly insane, but he would make them understand what true insanity was. But then, Yili lifted the dragon-slaying blade high and activated the 2nd level of the ancient devil tome. The blade exuded a dense aura of demonic energy. Primordial Demon Slash. Yili's voice seemed to have lasted endless epochs, resonating through the sky. As the blade fell, 3,000 divine and demonic illusions rushed fiercely toward the zombies beneath the outer city wall. Chapter 184, Earth-Shattering Battle Boom. The 3,000 divine and demonic illusions rushed toward the zombies beneath the outer city wall. In an instant, a deafening explosion rocked the area. The soldiers on the outer city wall were knocked to the ground, and countless zombies were sent flying. At this moment, the zombies below the outer city wall turned into nothingness, leaving a huge crater in their wake. Primordial Demon Slash, an S-level attack skill. Enjoy. The Primordial Demon Slash tore a massive gap in the outer city wall. Yili then gave a command to the Apocalypse Legion. Attack! With the command given, Yili and the Apocalypse Legion leaped down to the area below the outer city wall. Yili stood in the center, with Ada and Hongya on his right side, and Bai Wawa and Yutong on his left side. They spaced themselves out with tens of meters between each member. Today, Yili led the Apocalypse Legion, with each member guarding a specific area. They were going to hold the line one by one, making it virtually impenetrable. Meanwhile, the massive horde of zombies and the dark race continued their assault. Upon seeing this situation, Elder Su hurriedly shouted, "All genetic warriors of Tier 4 or above, follow me down. The military will provide cover." Soon, a large group of genetic warriors arrived below the outer city wall. Seeing Elder Su and the others coming down, Yili pondered whether he should let Ada and the others deal with the zombies first, and then he would synthesize them. Without further ado, Yili gave Ada and the others a secret command. Except for the Apocalypse Legion and himself, he couldn't synthesize zombies that others knocked down. At this point, the dark race and the horde of zombies had already reached the area below the outer city wall. The Apocalypse Legion and the military of Huangjiang Base City engaged in a fierce battle against the dark race and the zombies. The scene was absolutely brutal. Yili opened the synthesis grid in his mind and began synthesizing zombies like mad. 1,000, 2,000. Yili's synthesized zombies increased in number rapidly, but he didn't order them to attack. Facing such a massive horde of zombies, these 2,000 zombies would be reduced to dust in no time. The laser cannons, laser guns, and machine guns on the outer city wall were firing relentlessly at the zombies, and fighter jets in the sky shot down numerous strange birds. Many aircraft were also destroyed by the strange birds. On top of a mountain, this mountain provided a clear view of the battlefield below. Two figures stood on the mountain top, or rather, one was a member of the dark race, and the other was a human. They were leisurely watching this earth-shattering battle unfold. The member of the dark race had no physical form and appeared as a soul-like entity, dressed in a black robe. If he had a scythe in his hand, he would resemble a real Grim Reaper. The human beside him wore a simple Chinese tunic suit, his hands folded behind his back, and his expression was composed. The member of the dark race was undoubtedly the leader of the dark race in Pan City, a 7th-tier spirit soul. The human beside him was none other than the former head of the Warrior Alliance in Huangjiang Base City, Xiao Tian. "Brother Xiao, did you see the power of the dragon-slaying blade?" The 7th-tier spirit soul leader said with a sinister smile. "Yes, I did. As long as we obtain the dragon-slaying blade and offer it to the Dark Temple, our future will be a bright one," Xiao Tian chuckled. Yili still hadn't taken action. In his mind, he continued to synthesize zombies frantically. At this moment, he had synthesized over 3,000 zombies. He knew he needed many more. The dark race and the immense horde of zombies were attacking the genetic warriors of Huangjiang Base City, and many genetic warriors had already turned into zombies. Seeing that Huangjiang Base City was struggling to hold on, Yili wielded the dragon-slaying blade and unleashed several terrifying slashes, accompanied by the roar of a dragon. Countless zombies were instantly killed. Then he began synthesizing zombies. Chapter 185. The counterattack begins finally. Yili had synthesized 10,000 zombies, forming a significant force. At this point, the powerful dark race arrived beneath the outer city wall, as they had realized that the zombies couldn't breach the defenses. The genetic warriors of Huangjiang Base City were instantly hit with numerous casualties. The sounds of miserable screams echoed ceaselessly. Yili closed the synthesis grid in his mind, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. He raised the dragon-slaying blade, and demonic energy swirled around it. A flash of cold light, followed by a dragon-like slash. Yili unleashed 13 consecutive slashes. Each of these 13 slashes was incredibly terrifying. After these 13 slashes, all the dark race members in front of Yili vanished. Following this, Yili ordered over 10,000 zombies to counterattack. At this moment, the intense battle had lasted for a day and a night. Yili leaped into the air. The demonic energy of the second level of the primordial demon slash swirled around him as he held the dragon-slaying blade. He then executed another primordial demon slash. In an instant, countless shadowy figures filled the sky. The 3,000 divine and demonic illusions surged downward, each illusion akin to a nuclear warhead, bombarding the area below ferociously. Seeing this situation, Elder Su ordered hundreds of thousands of soldiers from Huangjiang Bay City to leave the city and engage in a life-or-death struggle against the dark race and the zombies. In order to defeat them, they had to make the dark race afraid and let them know that the human world wouldn't tolerate their invasion. To capture the thief, capture the king first was always a classic tactic. In midair, Yili activated the heavenly spirit eyes, exploring the most powerful dark race members. Soon, he found the strongest dark race member on a mountaintop not far away, a 7th-tier spirit soul. Beside the 7th-tier spirit soul, he also discovered a 7th-tier evolved being, and he could easily deduce that it was Xiao Tian. He noticed that the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian were both watching the battlefield. Yili smiled. He also spotted a 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead and several other 6th-tier dark race members. During the time when he and the Apocalypse Legion were massacring the dark race members in Pan City, the 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead managed to escape. This time, he would use the 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead as a sacrifice for his blade before taking down the 7th-tier spirit soul. None of them could escape. Suddenly, Yili activated swift steps and instantly appeared before the 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead. The 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead was currently in discussion with several 6th-tier dark race members, contemplating whether or not to join the battle. He would never have dreamt that Yili would suddenly appear in front of him. In Pan City, Yili and the Apocalypse Legion had slaughtered over 1,000 dark race members. The 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead had narrowly escaped. He knew that Yili had the dragon-slaying blade, and told it to his leader, the 7th-tier spirit soul. Upon hearing that the dragon-slaying blade had appeared, the 7th-tier spirit soul, the strongest dark race member in the jurisdiction of Huangjiang Bay City, immediately rushed to Pan City. The 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead knew all too well how terrifying Yili was. He looked at Yili in shock. Yili. He simply couldn't fathom why Yili had suddenly appeared in front of him. Big brother, the dragon-slaying blade is in this brat's hands. Let's kill him quickly and take the dragon-slaying blade. A 6th-tier giant coldly sneered. The 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead thought that there were 5 dark race members on his side, all at the 6th tier, while Yili was alone. With this in mind, the 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead's fear subsided. Yili, hand over the dragon-slaying blade, and I can give you a swift death, the 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead said coldly. Chapter 186. Where do you think you can retreat to? Big brother, why waste time talking to him? Just snatch the dragon-slaying blade from him. As the words fell, the 6th-tier giant several yards tall lunged towards Yili. Yili sneered coldly. In his eyes, a 6th-tier dark race member was nothing but an ant. How dare a 6th-tier dark race member charge at him? Swish! Yili swung his blade, and the massive body of the 6th-tier giant was instantly cut in half at the waist. The 2 halves of its body fell to the ground, and green blood gushed out wildly. How was that possible? The 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead and the other 6th-tier dark race members widened their eyes. They couldn't believe that Yili had slain the 6th-tier giant with a single slash. Don't be afraid, you will end up the same way, Yili said calmly. The 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead was horrified upon hearing this. He knew that Yili wasn't making empty promises. He no longer wanted to seize the dragon-slaying blade from Yili's hands. All he wanted was to escape. However, he couldn't escape from the palm of Yili's hand. As the 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead fled frantically, Yili calmly said, "Flame blade technique." As the words left his mouth, countless blades of fire were unleashed from the dragon-slaying blade towards them. The 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead and several other 6th-tier dark race members faced only one fate: becoming souls under the blade of the dragon-slaying blade. They didn't even have a chance to let out a scream before being consumed by the flames. By now, all the attacking 6th-tier dark race members had been annihilated. Most of the remaining dark race members were between the 2nd and 4th tiers. They were no match for the warriors of Huangjiang Bay City, the genetic warriors of Huangjiang Bay City, and the hundreds of thousands of soldiers had driven the dark race members into retreat. They were now fueled by their boiling blood, having forgotten the concept of death. All they knew was that they had to kill the dark race members and zombies. This was because they had never felt so exhilarated in their lives. Yili activated the heavenly spirit eyes, noticing that the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiaotian, standing atop the mountain, were both astonished. No matter how they imagined the situation, the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiaotian could never have expected this outcome. They had assumed that they wouldn't need to make a move to breach Huangjiang Base City's defenses. They believed that they would easily obtain the dragon-slaying blade when the time came. Unfortunately, they had overlooked one thing. That was Yi Li and his Apocalypse Legion. Sir, what should we do now? Xiaotian looked at the 7th-tier spirit soul. The situation was clear at this point. The dark race members and zombies were in full retreat. The 7th-tier spirit soul clenched his teeth and showed a trace of reluctance on his face. After a few seconds, he finally spoke. Retreat. However, just as the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiaotian were about to start moving, they heard an extremely domineering voice. Retreat. Where do you think you can retreat to? The 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiaotian were startled and quickly followed the direction of the voice. They saw a young man with a jade-like countenance approaching on the wind. The young man held a blade that gleamed with a cold light. The blade's body was engraved with the image of a 5-clawed blood dragon. What kind of blade other than the dragon-slaying blade would this be? Who else could this person be but Yi Li? The 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiaotian were utterly astounded. Given their realms, they should have detected Yi Li's presence. Yet, Yi Li had suddenly appeared before them. How could they not be shocked? However, the 7th-tier spirit soul didn't choose to look at Yi Li. Instead, his gaze fixated on the dragon-slaying blade in Yi Li's hand. The dragon-slaying blade. One will search high and low only to find it when one least expects it. The 7th-tier spirit soul sneered coldly. Xiaotian looked behind Yi Li and realized that Yi Li didn't have any backup. A smile appeared on his silver basin-like face. Chapter 187. Fighting 2 alone, why are you laughing? Yi Li was a bit puzzled. As soon as he said this, the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiaotian laughed even harder. We're laughing because you don't even realize that death is looming over you. Xiaotian sneered at Yi Li. Human, if I'm not mistaken, you should be a 7th-tier evolved being, right? 7th-tier evolved beings are indeed strong, but it's a pity. We are all at the 7th tier as well. Why do you think we're laughing? The 7th-tier spirit soul giggled. Hee hee. Yi Li shook his head. Why did people always think they could kill him? Apart from being a 7th-tier evolved being, he was also an SSS-level genetic warrior. With the dragon-slaying blade and the 2nd level of the ancient devil tome, fighting 2 7th-tier evolved beings wasn't much of a challenge in his eyes. Enough, human. Hand over the dragon-slaying blade, and I might consider giving you a painless death, the 7th-tier spirit soul said with an outstretched hand. Yi Li pondered for a moment, then spoke. A 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead said the exact same thing to me just now. Do you know what happened to him? Upon hearing this, the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiaotian's expressions turned cold. Brat, I see you won't cry until you see your coffin. Xiaotian shouted coldly. Yi Li smiled faintly. Unfortunately, even if one see the coffin, one won't shed a tear, because I will never need a coffin. The 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiaotian were enraged by Yi Li's words. They stared intently at him. Human, do you think I'm as useless as that 6th-tier heavy sword-wielding undead? The 7th-tier spirit soul's anger resonated in his voice. With a swish, the 7th-tier spirit soul extended a hand that resembled a soul. It then expanded to several meters in size and lunged at Yi Li. However, Yi Li remained unmoved, as if he hadn't noticed a soul-like hand reaching out to grasp him. Yet, just as the soul-like hand was about to seize Yi Li, 2 beams of golden light suddenly shot out from his eyes. These terrifying beams of golden light struck the soul-like hand, causing it to vanish in an instant. What? The 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiaotian were both shocked. It wasn't that Yi Li's attack was exceptionally powerful. They had simply never seen this kind of attack method before. Just stand in one place and shoot out 2 beams of golden light? Was it really that simple? I didn't expect you to be an SSS-level genetic warrior. Xiao Tian stared at Yili and said in a deep voice. The golden light that Yili had used was a color unique to SSS-level genetic warriors. Xiao Tian, having come from the Warrior Alliance headquarters, had decent knowledge. However, even if you are an SSS-level genetic warrior, you still have no chance against 2 7th-tier evolved beings. Xiao Tian continued to shout. Yili found this somewhat dull. He had no idea where Xiao Tian's courage came from to say such things. In that case, wouldn't it be a sin if he, Yili, didn't reveal his strength? Come over here. Yili beckoned to the 7th-tier spirit soul, and Xiao Tian with a crooked finger. Upon seeing this, the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian were driven into a frenzy. As 7th-tier powerhouses, when had anyone dared to provoke them with such a gesture? Suddenly, the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian rushed toward Yili. Yili sneered coldly. He intended to show these 2 7th-tier evolved beings what true fear was. With a flash of determination, he activated the 2nd level of the ancient devil tome. The dragon-slaying blade instantly became entwined with a devilish aura. Chapter 188. This is what you get for provoking me. Flame blade technique. The dragon-slaying blade descended, unleashing countless flames that burst forth from its edge. Both the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian were in the 7th tier, so dodging the flaming blade technique wasn't too difficult for them. After evading the flame blade technique, Xiao Tian threw a heavy punch, and purple fist shadows came rushing towards Yili. In an instant, the mountaintop was filled with ghostly shadows, exuding cold light, spiritual energy and sinister aura. Yili faced the 2 of them alone, and fought for over 20 rounds. After all, the higher the level, the wider the gap. There was an insurmountable chasm between the 6th tier and the 7th tier. Even if Yili possessed countless techniques and abilities, it was still impossible for him to instantly kill 2 7th-tier evolved beings. The 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian grew more and more anxious. They couldn't have anticipated that Yili would be so formidable. After all, they were both 7th-tier powerhouses. Swish, swish, swish. Yili swung his blade again, unleashing 13 strikes. These 13 strikes were as formidable as the famous 13 sword strikes of martial art novels, each one releasing an astounding power. The 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian were taken aback, and they quickly dodged, using almost all of their strength. Finally, they managed to evade the 13 strikes. However, just as they were catching their breath, they realized that Yili wasn't finished yet. They saw Yili raise the dragon-slaying blade high and activate the 2nd level of the ancient devil tome. Terrifying devilish energy entwined around the blade. Before the blade had even descended, the devilish energy began to suppress the 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian. What's with this pressure? The 7th-tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian were both horrified. They were both at the 7th tier. So why was Yili able to suppress them? They didn't understand. They truly couldn't comprehend it. But they would never have the chance to figure it out. This was because Yili's dragon-slaying blade had already fallen. In the moment the blade descended, Yili enunciated a few words. Primordial demon slash. As the words fell, the blade fell. 3,000 godly and demonic phantoms burst forth, creating an earth-shattering explosion on the relatively small mountaintop. Yili smiled faintly. This was what they got for provoking him. Yili, ding. Congratulations to the host for killing 2 7th-tier enemies. You have gained a chance to draw a random reward. Will the host use it? The system's voice echoed in Yili's mind. Yili chuckled. Another chance for a lucky draw. Yes. Immediately, a virtual roulette wheel appeared in his mind and began to spin. Congratulations to the host for gaining the chance to upgrade all skills. Will the host use it? A delighted expression appeared on Yili's face upon hearing this. The chance to upgrade all skills was simply too incredible. Yes. Upgrade of all skills initiated. IO%, 30%, 60% IGO%. Upgrade of all skills completed. Yili checked his skills. Healing art max level. Flaming Blade Technique, S grade. Ancient Devil Tome, 3rd level. Primordial Demon Slash, SS grade. After upgrading all his skills, Yili felt that his overall strength had increased several times over. Although he hadn't reached the 8th tier evolved being yet, if all his skills had been upgraded just now, killing 7th tier spirit souls and Xiao Tian would have been as easy as slaughtering pigs and dogs. Oh right, the zombies. Only now did Yili remember that there were still many zombies left to synthesize. He quickly activated the swift steps and arrived at the battlefield below. At this moment, many of the dark creatures and zombie groups had already escaped, leaving behind the zombies synthesized by Yili and those that had lost their combat capabilities. Chapter 189. End of the Great Battle. After synthesizing 10,000 zombies, Yili didn't continue synthesizing more. He ordered the remaining nearly 4,000 zombies to attack the massive horde of zombies. Currently, less than 4,000 zombies remained from the initial 10,000. For the current Yili, this number seemed pitiful. Fortunately, there were still many zombies on the ground that hadn't died yet. Yili could determine which zombies had been defeated by his Apocalypse Legion. After opening the synthesis grid in his mind, Yili synthesized the zombies that the Apocalypse Legion had defeated. In the end, he synthesized a total of over 8,000 zombies with a roughly equal number of males and females. After synthesizing these 8,000 zombies, he synthesized a Tier 4 male zombie and a Tier 4 female zombie. In his system space, he already had a Tier 4 male zombie and a Tier 4 female zombie, so he continued the synthesis. Immediately after, Yili created a Tier 5 male zombie and a Tier 5 female zombie. He had already informed the leaders of the Huangjiang base city that his terrifying ability could make zombies attack other zombies. After placing the Tier 5 male and female zombies into the system space, Elder Su led the warriors of Huangjiang base city over. Their faces bore joyful smiles because they had won the battle, a complete victory. Mr. Yi, Elder Su took the lead, addressing Yili with respect. Soon, all the leaders of Huangjiang base city followed suit, addressing Yili respectfully. If it weren't for Yili, Huangjiang base city would have likely fallen by now. Yili's actions were akin to holding up a collapsing building and reversing a doomed situation. Mr. Yi, you are Huangjiang base city's great benefactor. Elder Su looked at Yili and said. Yili's face remained unchanged, his eyes calm as he gazed at Elder Su. It's nothing. I just did it by the way. The leaders of Huangjiang base city were surprised to hear this. It seemed that Mr. Yi was indeed a remarkable individual. At this moment, Su Yao snorted coldly. It's a pity we didn't encounter the 7th tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian. Otherwise, we would have extinguished their souls and wiped them out. Yeah, I wonder where they fled to. It won't be easy to find them now, said Lu Xinghe, the head of the Lu family. Elder Su's expression also grew grave. If the 7th tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian weren't dead, who knew if they would mobilize the zombies again to attack Huangjiang base city? The 7th tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian you mentioned have already been killed by me, Yili said slowly. His words surprised everyone in Huangjiang base city. They couldn't believe what Yili said. Mr. Yi, are you telling the truth? Elder Su hurriedly asked. Yili smiled faintly. I never tell lies. Hearing this, everyone in Huangjiang base city let out a sigh of relief. If the 7th tier spirit soul and Xiao Tian were truly dead, then Huangjiang base city could enjoy a period of peace. Mr. Yi, let's return to the city, Elder Su said respectfully to Yili. Yili nodded, and then everyone followed him back to the main city of Huangjiang base city. After reaching Su's residence, Elder Su quickly invited Yili to take a seat. After Yili sat down, Elder Su looked at him and said, Mr. Yi, one wonder what your plans are for the future. If possible, Elder Su naturally hoped that Yili would stay in Huangjiang base city. After all, Yili was incredibly powerful and could become a pillar of support for Huangjiang base city. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.